Up next, bringing you the latest from her corner of the streets, it's Sonnie's Corner, with your host, Sonnie Johnson.
Hey, told you, I'm beginning to like this as the theme song for this segment, right? You know how I like to do it, bringing you fire conversation, especially when I get the opportunity to let black men speak for themselves. That's like the greatest pleasure and honor I get to bring to you guys. So the next guest we're gonna have on the show, you know how we usually do my thing where we invite first time guest on and they get to choose topic. I'm gonna let him choose topic, but before I let him choose topic, I want to let him speak for himself. This is the first time I heard this man speak, and I was floored, and I instantly became a fan of his. So let's go ahead and let's listen to what hooked me with the one and only Consciously.
Stop scrolling. If you was born and raised in a struggle, this post is for you. When I graduated from college, both my mama and my daddy was locked up in the penitentiary. And guess what? OU student breaks family cycle of incarceration with upcoming graduation. And yeah, I'm sure by now we've all heard the statement, you're a product of your environment. But I'm going to go a step further and tell you I agree. However, your environment does not dictate what type of product you become. And based off statistics, I'm supposed to be a statistic. You know, multiple studies show that kids that are raised by convicted felons have a high likely chance of being a convicted felon. And look at me in this old classroom talking about some education, it's elevation. This is dedicated to everybody that was born and raised in a struggle because, you know, they love to call us lazy and underestimate our hustle. But guess what? We got it, though. This is my mug shot from 2010 that these old conservative clout chasers keep on posting thinking they doing something, not recognizing this is empowerment. You feel me? Think about how many other black and brown students going through something, they don't know they can make it through it. Consciously, it's proof you can make it through whatever you want to make it through. You know what I'm saying? That's on white supremacy.
You, right? Is this your baby mom? Oh shit, you're George Jr.?
Congratulations, man. You just proved to the people that I am who I say I am. From the jump, I said I'm an educated hood dude that has trials and tribulations, but listen up. My shortcomings don't define me, you feel me? I know you want to get caught up and say all he does is say he's a victim and victim this, victim that, but check what? You just showed the people that I'm a victor, you feel me? That regardless of this criminal record, regardless of the incarceration, I still was able to get out and have some degrees. And you say your research ain't that good because you would have looked at my mama name, you would see my mama got a mug shot too, a couple of them, you feel me? I'm just a hood dude that was raised by a couple convicted felons that fell in love with education. And now I got these old conservative contradicting clout chasers on the internet hating. I'll be mad at me too though, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna talk that talk like I do what I do because guess what? I'm gonna be in the high school classroom, I'm gonna be in the college classroom, and over yonder ways. And that's on GeorgeLeeSpeaks.com. My mama named me George. I ain't upset about my name being George. That's why my website is named, that's my first name, you feel me? Thank you though.
And ever since I heard that, I knew that this day would be inevitable. Welcome to Sonnie's Corner, the one and only Consciously. Hello, brother. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So I was like, okay, he's fired, and you never disappointed. Every video after that I saw of you, whether I agree or disagree, the way you logically lay out your arguments, the way it's not set for clickbait, it's set for information, it's set for education, it's set to further the conversation. I am, in fact, a fan of your work, and it is an honor to have you here on Sonnie's Corner.
I'm honored to be here, definitely. I appreciate you inviting me.
All right, so now what we do, I had to do that because I love that piece of sound so much. But usually what we do here is I love to let black men speak for themselves. So I open up the first that you can introduce yourself any way that you want, or you can pick topic of conversation and we can jump in from there.
Okay, yeah, we're going to do both of them then. My name is George Lee, a.k.a. Consciously. Don't forget the Lee. theconsciously.com where you can find me at for all your workshop facilitations, for all your online classes, for your merch. I consider myself an unapologetic black man. I know that in many instances when I start talking about, race, and white supremacy and anti-blackness, I'm used to people that look like me agreeing with me. You feel me? I'm gonna put that out there right now. I know when I'm talking about how white people are construction systems of domination, I know people that look like me gonna rock with me. But I know for the most part, when I start getting into sexuality and gender, because I'm very unapologetically intersectional, a lot of times that's when I'm going to start getting a lot of the detractors or being like, man, I don't know about that right there. So when it comes to me and my motto, I full with all of my heart believe that if some of us ain't free, then none of us is free. So I really apply that to race, class, gender, ability, sexuality, and start to think about the ways in which oppression and white supremacy and anti-blackness really be, really interconnected through most of our society. You feel me? So when you see me, when you hear my voice, I'm trying to deliver a upper division college course that you ain't got to do no SAT, you ain't got to do no ACT. All you got to do is just plug in. I have a master's degree in human relations. I also have a master's degree in adult and higher education, and my undergraduate was in African American studies. So a lot of what I do and what I talk about comes from the portable skills and the I guess the literature base I was able to dive into when I was, going to school. And also, like you showed in that video, I've been through some things, I've experienced some things, I've witnessed some things. So I'm able to always trying to really convey, no matter how complex the message is, in a way where I can go to any street on America and be like, hey, peep game, this is what I think right here, and this is and be ready for the response. But yeah, thank you for that. And, I'm ready to jump in and for the conversation. Hopefully that introduction, kind of lay some things down.
Most definitely, and we will get into those things in a second. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was the inclusion of conscious in your name, because we have elements of that are trying to restructure some of the messaging on the conservative side of the aisle. And I want to understand what you mean when you put consciousness in your name.
When I put consciousness in my name, is really having awareness of yourself and having awareness of how the world works. So having consciousness of who you are, what you stand for, what you don't stand for, what turns you on, like kind of like a knowledge of self, but not only thinking of self, also thinking of the world around you and how you are positioned within that world and thinking of how that world operates. So when I say I'm consciously, or I say thinking consciously, or when I throw the word out, I'm usually talking about it from those two particular elements. The idea of self and the idea of world around you, and being conscious of both of those things and how they intersect.
Okay, so to me, right? When I think of those two things intersecting, to me, that's the basis of conservatism for me. I always start at the idea of the individual, like first and foremost you, and that's not like a greedy thing. It's a who do you want to be? Like what do you want to give to the world? What kind of presence do you want to leave? And if those are questions that you leave unanswered, then you're not going to give the best of what's inside of you to the secondary cause of understanding what's around you, what's in your community, where needs need to be filled. So to me, I always look at that as just like the first steps of conservatism.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that definitely. I can see that. I can see individualism, especially uniquely, being a part of the first things people slide into conservatism. But I think that recognizing kind of like that knowledge of self part, I think that it should be a part of really everybody. You know what I'm saying? In terms of recognizing how you're positioned.
Yeah, but that's the reason why I said it is because you included the second part, and that's what I think a lot of black conservatives don't do. They're very good with the individual part of it and pushing that idea of the individual where, okay, I made it out, so everything must be great or not as bad as you say it is. Okay, that's fine. You made it out. I made it out.
Definitely.
Consciously made it out. But that doesn't mean that everything is fine. Now we become conscious of what's stopping the rest of them from getting out. So just because we ourselves have made it, that isn't the end of us individual or individual purpose. Our individual purpose then extends to our family, to our community, to being able to be effective in moving in the areas that we claim that we love, or the areas that we claim are our people, our group, our tribe. Like we have a responsibility, an individual responsibility to that as well, but they never get to that part of the equation.
Yeah, I think the distinction I would make is the distinction between individuality and the distinction between kind of like the knowledge of self, and recognizing that you can have a knowledge of self without subscribing to a politics of individuality or individualism. I know that capitalism a lot of times make it be like, well, if I got mine, then you can get yours. I'm a go-getter, and if I made it out the hood and I can have a big house, then the only reason why you can't make it out the hood and have a big house is because you don't work hard enough. You know what I'm saying? I think that capitalism kind of breeds us to have that more, like, it's about the individuality and middle finger to the collective. You know what I mean?
Does it?
Does it?
Or do we choose in capitalism just that our collective is smaller? So we don't, and I'll use the founder from Black Lives Matter as this example. Like, when we come up, it's not us individually. We're taking our family with us. You know what I'm saying? We're investing in our friends. We're paying off our nieces or nephews' college fund. So it isn't about us just taking for self in capitalism and just being all self-absorbed. Is that we limit what we can do within our circles around us. And if we had more of those small groups doing that, then we would start to alleviate a lot more of our problems if we started thinking in terms of that and group economics. So just like throwing out there that capitalism can't affect these things or lead credence to these things, I don't think is an argument that Black people will accept.
Agreed, but Black people, I'm gonna say Black people. I know there are some people in our community, however, believes that capitalism is one of the things that can solve, you feel me, most of the problems that we have, or believe that we shouldn't focus on racial politics at all and only focus on class. So a lot of times I bring up capitalism because it mystifies a lot of people in our community and thinking like, well, if I'm able to get X, Y, or Z, then this means that everybody can work hard. Kind of like that bootstrap mentality, you know what I'm saying? So that's the reason I'm always critical of capitalism.
But I would think that, like, that's to me is the second part of it. Of like I said, this is always to me the second part of it. So I, as a Black individual, like, I can make it out. You know what I'm saying? I can acquire wealth. I can use capitalism to do so. Now, if I wanted to take my capital gains and buy the community, but there are so many restrictions. There are there are still the red lines up that are stopping it from making it feasible for me to do that. So I want to go in and invest in these communities as a capitalist. You know what I'm saying? But I want to do it in a way where the costs aren't so high that gentrification is the natural cause of it. So if I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, if this was my cap and this was my base and I can work within this, I can build houses in these communities at a price that the people that live there can afford, instead of whether it's a bloated bureaucracy or regulation or whatever that are in these areas that raise the cost so much that makes that impossible. So I don't think it's just the idea of capitalism, because you have people like, and I just like to use cultural names because people, know them. And I know a lot of people that are not in the culture that do it. But I think most about Nipsey when he's like, the marathon continues, that this is what it is. And it's not just about self-wealth. It is about taking that wealth and investing it back into our communities to see it flourish, and realizing that we have to start in the places that raised us to actually start to see these things change.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at, but that's where we disagree at, though. Like, I think that capitalism has fundamental things within the structure that are built to be opposition to Black people.
Such
politically,
as?
socially, economically, such as how we value labor or how we think about redlining. You know what I'm saying? So when we think about giving people affordable things, I think that is counterintuitive to capitalism. Capitalism is about expanding profits. So if we're as a capitalist,
capitalism in its definition stands up to the capitalist. So if the capitalist wants to be no integrity, wants to be like, again, the individual capitalist matters. If the capitalist wants to be an investor in their community, then that is why do you discount the
No, by
capitalist that
definition,
wants to
capitalism
be?
is about private ownership.
Yes, most definitely.
It's like that's what capitalism is about.
Most definitely. And so black people shouldn't be owners. We shouldn't be owners.
Capitalism doesn't corner the market on ownership. I think that I'm making a structural criticism about capitalism or black capitalism, whatever you want to put whatever actions you want to put in front of capitalism, is not going to be what liberates black people or what's not going to elevate us. I think that even when you look at the idea, which you've already acknowledged, the idea of buying back the block already comes with restrictions, rules, regulations that's literally going to go back and re-entrench the same thing we was trying to get at.
Okay, exactly.
And them being able to dictate. So I think that right there.
You and I are disagreeing with this, because this is what I think we learned from Booker T. Washington in history, where that's what he did. He focused strictly on just the capitalism and just the ethics of making money, and the thought that if we make this amount of money, if we show that we are good Negroes, then the white people will soon love us. And instead, what we got were two political parties that didn't want anything to do with us. So you had the open segregationists in the Democratic Party, and you had the lily whites and the Republican Party. So Booker T. Washington's time proved to us that if you just have the capitalism and you don't have the political fight along with it, then you cannot protect that capitalism. And then it is suspect to being overregulated. It is suspect of having government fondle in it and having outside forces be able to manipulate power within government to fondle with it. So yes, it has to be partnered.
History tells us that history tells us that you need both strategies of Booker T. Washington and W.E. Du Bois to be where we're at. It's not just being able to have the skills and show that we're able to work as hard, because that's how we get into exploitation, which is a cornerstone of capitalism. That's how we get into extortion, which is a cornerstone of capitalism. And that's why it's important to be able to have the piece of independence in education, recognizing that it is not just about showing our labor and showing that we can get capital.
What is the economic system that you think would be beneficial to Black America?
The economic system that will be beneficial for Black America is for us to use our creativity and innovation and come up with a new one. For us not to be slaves of old times, not to be slaves of a European economic systems like socialism, capitalism, communism, and really come up with what we can have on. I believe in my intellect and be able to understand how history works and be able to think about the pitfalls of those systems and come up with something new.
Okay, have you come up with something? I would be interested in hearing your idea.
I think that it would be important to have Black trans people, Black gay people, Black men, Black women, all these people on board for us to create a system with each other. So when you ask me for myself, it's like, yeah, I have what I think what a system will look like, but I would like to be able
I'm
to have
interested. I like the opinion. I like hearing the opinion of Black men. So I would like to know what your system would look like.
What my system would look like? I think that my system would look more like the let's see. Economically, I think that my system will look more about distribution of wealth and recognizing that all labors are different and recognizing that all labors have value. So when I think about
who gets to distribute wealth? Okay, who decides who wealth is confined? How is that wealth taken? And then who gets to distribute it?
Yeah, see, I knew that you was gonna ask these questions, so I structured my response with saying that we are creative and innovative enough to have all hands on board to come up and decide these great questions. I think as a Black man, you know what I'm saying? I think that it is not productive for me to dictate who gets what, when, where, and how. I think it is more productive and efficient for all Black people in the Black, or as many Black people in the Black community as possible, to be able to deliberate and come up with these decisions on who's going to dictate what the value of the system is, who's going to dictate how the distribution works. I think that is not a a question that comes from one person. I think that those decisions come from the voice of many, the collective, not the individual. We've already, you know what I'm saying? We talked about the value of the collective.
But each person, I think that each person in the collective should have the perspective to add to the conversation and give some kind of structural awareness. So I don't think that asking the individual what would you add to the conversation should be outside of, the preview of what we were talking about. But so this is my thing, right?
Specifically, I go to the education part. That's more of my expertise is. So I would think of more of having an intersectional education where we're able to think about how different labors for different people looks differently in terms of what does it mean to value labor from a Black disabled person when we've been, conditioned to see disability as being, hey, that labor over there is unvaluable. Or what does it look like for us to value Black women's labor, in terms of reproduction, or Black women's labor in terms of emotional labor? So in my system, I'm thinking educationally, what would it look like to build a classroom where we can control the curriculum, the learning standards, the learning objectives, to where we create an intersectional, curriculum that accounts for the multiplicity of the Black community.
Okay, so you're for something like school choice that would allow you to put a curriculum like that in place, because that curriculum is not going to go into a government system school. So in order to be able to have a curriculum of that type, especially once specifically targeted to Black America, we're going to have our own schools to be able to do that, and to do it in a productive way that actually allows our kids the maturity and space to obtain that kind of education. So is school choice a way that you would think that would work?
Not really. I think that school choice is something that circumvents the way that we distribute wealth. I think that a lot of times when we talk about school choice, it creates it's already status quo. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's more for us to be able to think about how to invest into communities that we live in.
So you believe in distribution of wealth in certain areas, but education is an area where you don't believe in distribution of wealth.
I think that distribution of wealth means that the wealth moves, and not the people have to move to get the wealth.
And that's what school choice does. The school choice gives the wealth to the individual, and then the individual decides where to take it.
Humans to me.
So you can literally, this is my question. You could literally create your curriculum, have your curriculum in a school class next year. If you believe that your curriculum is something that would be beneficial enough to uplift Black America, you could have it in your school system next year, instead of waiting for it to materialize over how many ever years it takes us to get there. You could literally have it in a school system next year with an issue like school choice. So how long do we put off having our issues actually addressed? And again, you brought up the white supremacy. The school system itself is the pipeline to prison. That's where they take our babies in and actually cater them. The schools are built, the buses are built just like the prison. All of it is the same. So yet again, why are we going to just leave our kids there if we know what it is? You know what the solution is, and this is a way that gets your solution to the kids immediately. Why is that not something you would be for?
I think that you put a lot on. I think that you're putting a lot on school choice that is ignoring the history of how school choices work and how it's working right now. But I'm also recognizing that right now. School choice
started because white people didn't want Black people in their schools. So as soon as segregation started. As soon as segregation started, white parents started pulling their kids out of the schools, and that's where you started getting school choice as an option. So I'm not trying to run away from anything or any history of how it happened or how we got here. Like, I'm not scared of those topics. I'm saying if what you're proposing
links to the history that you're acknowledging. All I'll say is right now in 2022, We don't have to be stuck to the old archaic ways of education. The pandemic showed us literally what it means to do virtual learning, virtual teaching. I'm teaching an online class right now about identity politics. I'm currently working on an online class right now that's going to be completely free and accessible to all the kids we're talking about. I don't have to rely on no white man system. I have the means to have the creativity and innovation to create a website that's already created.
So if we can take your curriculum, right? And we can, like, I'm just saying here as I like solution minded stuff. If we could take your curriculum and actually have it passed in some kind of area where it can be credentialed, because I mean, we could say it's for free, but if they take everything that you have and then they can't use it in a way that, like, pushes their career forward, they can't.
I can worry about. Yeah, I can do. I mean, that's something easy right there. I have a master's degree in higher education. I know that right now there are a whole bunch of parents throughout the country that's reaching out to me about aiding them in doing homeschooling. So because I recognize there's already a system for homeschooling that's also able to be accredited, that's a small issue that can be resolved in a matter of just doing a little bit of research. You feel me? Like, I think that in the world that we live in right now, we can think about the solutions and stuff. I just recognize that when it comes to that curriculum and that part about the community being a part of that part, I know, if we're being real, I know for a fact it's going to be a lot of black people that don't want to hear shit consciously got to say about gender or sexuality. So again, it goes.
Okay, no. I'm sorry. I get, like, this is my area, and I really wanted to pump your brain for this, and you know what I'm saying? I like fire conversations, and you are definitely living up to that. So I appreciate it. Let us take a quick break. If you can hold on, we could come back, and I want to actually address gender issues with you, because I know that's something you talk about, and I don't want you to think I'm scared to talk about that either.
And so far too, this is the best experience I didn't had all year on in interviews. Because you come this is the best experience. I want to say that right now.
I'm glad to hear that. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more than one and only Conscious Lee.
This is Sonnie's Corner with your host, Sonnie Johnson, on Sirius XM Patriot 125.
What? All right, welcome back to Sonnie's Corner, everybody. You know I love fire conversation, and you know I love it when it shows up ready to go. And of course, the one and only Conscious Lee is not disappointing. Well, welcome back to the show, brother.
Oh yeah, thank you. Welcome. Hey.
All right, so what you call intersectionality, I call conservatism equally applied. What I mean by that is any principle, and I mainly stick to what I call Black conservatism. And that's a history based from Frederick Douglass through Booker T. Washington to Carter Woodson to Malcolm X. So that's my kind of discography. But what I call it is conservatism equally applied. And that means that any principle that I could apply to myself or my group, I can apply to any other group, and it will work the exact same way. All right. So that's how I operate off of conservatism equally applied, as opposed to different of your intersectionality. But I would like for you to explain what intersectionality means to you.
Intersectionality is just a cute term coined by a black woman by the name of Kimberly Crenshaw. She's a legal professor at UCLA. And really, intersectionality is just about how systems of oppression come and intersect and collide. For example, during the civil rights movement, black women, were talking about actually moving forward and thinking about what it means to be black and what it means to be woman in the world. At that time, the women's suffrage movement, the feminist movement was telling black women to, put your blackness to the side and just focus on being a woman. At the same time, you had black men telling black women, put your womanness to the side and just focus on being black. Intersectionality is about thinking of the specific impacts of what it means to be like a black woman that is different from being a white woman and that's different from being a black man, and thinking about things like, let's see, like the fatality rate. You feel me? You know what I mean? Like how many people died during pregnancy rate compared to that's something unique for black women. Or thinking about how sexual violence got put onto black women's bodies. that is something unique to Black women's bodies that wasn't, you know what I'm saying, unique to the other bodies. So intersectionality is thinking about how like sexism and racism come and collide. You feel me? So we know that in America up until the 1970s, Black women were seen as legally being nymphos, meaning that white men could rape Black women and it'd be seen like it's cool because she wanted it. An intersectional analysis will allow for us to see how it wasn't just her being Black, but also the culmination of her femininity and her Blackness that, you feel me, resulted into that type of sexual violence. So intersectionality for me is just thinking about the ways in which I'm not just a man. I'm not just Black. I'm not just straight. I'm not just of the, you know what I'm saying, from this class. I'm all these things together and thinking about what does it mean when the world see me and deal with me as all these things that I am. You feel me? That's what intersectionality is. Thinking about how Black trans women down south have a life expectancy rate of 30-something. It's not just because they Black. It's not just because they trans. It's not just because they woman. It's because they're Black trans women. The combination of all three of those things makes it where, whether we're talking about the Black community, whether we're talking about the white community, whether we're talking about the law, whether we're talking about the Congress or the courts, don't give a F about, you know what I'm saying, trans women. And when we're thinking about it in terms of Black trans women specifically, when we're thinking about different communities, it's going to be different reasons why, you see what I'm saying, they don't care about that. But on the flip side of it, I think that a lot of the times when we talk about, hey, it's only two genders, or we talk about, you feel me, hey, man supposed to do this, women supposed to do that, that comes from colonialism and white supremacy. The Master taught us that. Master taught us that women are always supposed to be nurturers and men are always supposed to be protectors. Master taught us a lot of the ways that we believe and think about gender. That's patriarchal, you know, plantation patriarchy, you know what I'm saying, plantation patriarchy, you feel me, or getting into any other literature base. But you know what I'm saying, that's pretty much what that means to me.
Yeah, this is kind of where you and I really disagree. And
Yeah.
I want to start. No, I don't think you do. I want to start with kind of my upbringing a little bit, just to kind of get you to get you the background or whatever, right? So I'm like you, I'm hood, just made it out, and I was given my church history. You know what I'm saying? I was given a lot of my local history through my church. So that's mostly the Black history I learned, was just local history. So as I became a teenager, started to study a lot of like the Black feminists. And yeah, I didn't see myself in that. And I didn't find my voice in it. I didn't see it reflective of me in any way until I started to watch things within the culture. So like the first time I remember watching Color Purple, or the first time I remember especially watching The Women of Brewster Place. If you remember, have you ever seen that movie?
Women of Brewster Place, not familiar with it.
Okay. The Women of Brewster Place is a movie. It's with Oprah Winfrey in it. And I remember watching it like as a 12, 13-year-old girl. And it has what all of us probably in the Black community grew up with. Those the auntie and her friend. And you know, auntie and her friend live together. You know what I'm saying? And they're just friends. And we know they're not just friends. And so they have an example of that in the show. And one of the ladies is sexually assaulted in the alleyway. And it was done for no other reason that she was gay. And it was done for no other reason that she was a woman. And it was done for no other reason that she had no reason to protect, she had no way to protect herself. Like, it was seared into my brain at this point what that meant, right? And then and in coordination with that, I had two cousins, very feminine. The older one became a full-blown trans woman, changed the name, everything, moved away, stopped talking to us, didn't want to have anything to do with us because we were reminders of the past. Okay, the younger one stayed with us. So whenever we would have girl sleepovers, any of that, he would be there with us. He'd be painting nails with us, doing hair with us. Nobody ever cared. Nobody ever blinked an eye. One day he was walking home and he got the life like beat out of him again. No other reason for being but being Black. No other reason than being gay and being very, very feminine. And we went to the hospital and we saw my cousin, who we loved and grew up with, in a hospital bed, barely able to recognize who he was because of what was done to him. So that is my upbringing and coming into this conversation. And in no way, shape, form, or fashion would I ever deny anyone their right or fail to defend them from any kind of physical, mental, or abuse that would be put towards them in any way, shape, form, or fashion, because that goes against what I consider to be conservatism equally applied. So that's my opening for you, so you can understand where I'm coming from in this conversation. Now, to me, my problem with what you said is this. I understand what feminists did. Like to think that women could be nothing more than barefoot and pregnant, that we can only be submissive in the sense of old school submission. Don't open your mouth. If I cheat on you, don't say anything. Marriage with me is marriage forever, no matter how bad I treat. Like, nah, none of that. Like, none of that I want to agree with. I don't want to bring any of that back. I am happy for every single feminist that ever stood against it and did what she had to do to make sure that is not a reality that I have to live with. I don't want any of that taken away. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to a woman and her sexuality, if she wants to be promiscuous and open and flaunt it, I don't care. It does not affect my JJ in any way, shape, form, or fashion. That is her right to do it. Nor do I think she is worthy of disrespect, because that is what she chooses to do. Her body, her choice, let her rock, right? So these are not things that I want to take away from anybody, have any conversation about in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But when it comes to the idea of being a black woman and understanding what that means, to me, that has to intersect with the black man. It has to. Like, pulling ourselves away in any fashion from the black man is detrimental to us. It leaves too many cracks in our defenses when that is what we do. So when the feminist movement got to that point, that's when my intersectionality was like, yeah, no. When they're calling black men bullet bags.
I think you're conflating things, though. I think that the white feminist, the argument you're bringing up, that's like second wave feminism. Intersectionality comes from like third wave feminism, saying, hey, white women, the way y'all think about womanhood does not take into account black women. That all that stuff right there, you know, Sojourner Truth said, ain't I a woman? The ain't I a woman speech, which we know now is fake, but we know the point of that speech, you know what I'm saying, was to think about how black women's labor is always, the womanhood of black women always ran in the marketplace and not necessarily domestically. So when we know that, you know what I'm saying, what's coming up with that? When we talk about intersectionality, it's thinking of, you know, for like equal pay day, it's always in the frame of white women, about how white women are paid 80-some cents in relationship to every dollar that white men are made. Intersectionality gonna make us go a step further and think, okay, but black women are paid 60 cents on the dollar compared to white men, not 80 as white women. You see what I'm saying? So I don't see how intersectionality is something that's bad. It's only a way to look at identity and how multiple things happen. That's it. It's not like saying you can be this way of feminism is right, this way of feminism is not saying that.
This is why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because you can say that and you can mean that. And coming from you, I will take it as a true reflection of how you feel. But that's not how it's used. In a lot of ways, that is not how it's used. And that's why I think you get so much. Yes, the idea of intersectionality, yes, that the black woman aspect of everything comes primary and first before the relationship between us comes into the conversation. And I can see this a lot, and I'm really saying this because I can see this a lot with a lot of the younger females in my family, and I'm personalizing this just to be like, I don't have to, but I'm doing it because I'm digging our conversation, and I hope you can take it as such and respect it as such. But I'm having conversations with them, and the way that they're using the idea of intersectionality and separating themselves from the idea of, again, needing a man, or like, no, you don't need a man, but you need a man. Not in a sense of not in a sense of you can't do it without, or you can't. No, it's in a sense of that's what takes away from us having to be the strong all the time. The where you say our value or our worth isn't being measured. Well, I would be like, oh, my value and my worth is being measured, but not by the people that think that they should be the ones measuring. For me, mine is being measured by my husband. Do I need him? Do I have to have him to survive? I would even at this point say yes, because we've been together 20 years and I couldn't imagine not having him. You get what I'm saying? So when it's coming to this point where if you're having the intersectionality talk, it's separation, not in conjunction with.
Nah, but intersectionality is just a framework for us to make analysis about how systems of power work. So they're just talking about what they think about, like in this instance.
Okay, so we're gonna take it. So
of y'all
and
being
again,
women talking about what it means for y'all to, you feel me, define y'all femininity and womanhood, and y'all talking about amongst yourselves, you feel me, and debating amongst yourselves as women of what it means for y'all to be a person, to be, you know what I'm saying? What it means for y'all to be like, nah, this is how I find happiness. I don't need no man. This is how I find happiness. I want a man. I don't need one, but I want one. That's, you know what I'm saying, for y'all. As a black man, I know how to stay in my lane. I just feel like me and my understanding of femininity and womanism, because recognizing womanism and femininity, R.I.P. to Audre Lorde, that's something different. You see what I'm saying? And I just recognize that.
Look, I'm sitting here like I'm gonna have to get you back. I'm gonna have to get you back on the show.
Last thing I want to say, I respect the multiple ways in which different women, you feel me, manifest their womanhood. You see what I'm saying? And I know, you feel me, you using a hip hop example, I know Beyonce and Cardi B are two different, you know what I'm saying, expressions of womanhood. You feel me? I respect them both. You see what I'm saying?
I don't look at them and see, but I don't look at them and see them as two different expressions of womanhood. They're both married. They're both mothers. They're both career women. Like, why?
But the ideology though, like, listen, my wife and you, y'all would disagree. Y'all would disagree on, you feel me, the idea of husbands and all that. But my wife, she got 2 kids. She married. She got a career. But in terms of ideology, in terms of expression of womanhood, I see the distinctions and differences in terms of what it means for you to feel like, nah, I want to be this. You feel me? You talking about, hey, nah, I've been with my husband for 20 years. Me and my wife been married for 30 years. I never see her being like, yeah, man, I think I need him. I don't think she'll never say that. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah,
I do, because like I don't want to be the strong one all the time. Like I want to have it where I can lay off my weight and give it to him and be able to take his if it's necessary. So it's not like it's a one-way street. We ran out.
We can talk more, definitely.
We ran out of time.
Go check it out. Now we ran out of time. Man, I'm sorry. I'm shut up. I apologize. You got me worked up over here. You got me excited.
Yes, it was
one of them nerves I used to have in debate, like, oh, please, no, take me, come on, please.
That's what happened. That's what happened when we have fire conversation. You know what I'm saying? When the respect is there, it's possible. So I really hope you'll come back. And like I said, I am a true fan of yours. I really, really like your videos, even when I'm yelling at them. You never fail to make logical arguments as to why you feel the way that you feel, and that is something I can respect no matter what. So I really appreciate you coming through and chopping it up with me today.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to part 2 of our conversation. We gonna set it up, definitely. Definitely. I think that these type of conversations is what our community really needs to hear. And I really believe that with all of my heart. Like, I think these are productive conversations to be had publicly for people to really think about what's being said from both of us, like, you know what I'm saying, from both parties, in these different perspectives about what words mean and about how the world works. I think it's important.
I do too, and that's why I appreciate you so much for accepting the invitation, and we'll get you back soon. The one and only Consciously. I'm going to put his tags up on all my social media so you can be able to find them. You definitely want to check them out. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back to wrap everything up.